Hello everybody, my name is Kevin. Welcome to a very special 80th anniversary of what we call Peace Day in the Hiroshima city area version of Discover Hiroshima Beyond the Basics. We're standing right now at a very important place in the history of the world and of course Hiroshima's local history. This is the ground zero point. You can see a photo of the devastation left after the Enola Gay, the B-29 bomber, dropped mankind's first atomic bomb on August 6, 1945. Today my hope for all of you is to share what I've learned over the course of my over 8 years living in Hiroshima City, how my thinking and vision has changed as a result of the people here, and to share a lot of the important places in the hallowed grounds of Peace Memorial Park, including the museum and several of the monuments. Just behind me, the Hiroshima National Peace Memorial Hall for the A-bomb victims. Next, I hope to share parts of the museum, very powerful, leaving lasting memories on all those who visit, and a key part of Peace Memorial Park from the very beginning. In 1955, its inauguration, originally as the Peace Education Center, a collection of artifacts. Today, both sections of the museum, extremely powerful, telling the stories, accounts of the A-bomb victims, and also the tale of working for peace through the means of denuclearization. Hope to share some of those very powerful exhibitions with you today as well. We'll start with a pretty amazing kind of landscape shot of particularly the Nakajima neighborhood, which we just walked through, today's Peace Memorial Park. This is essentially what daily life in Hiroshima would have looked like. We'll start having a look through here, and no matter how many times I take in the museum, it's always moving and surprising in a sense how it reaffirms how we must work for denuclearization and an end to warfare. This part is shocking every time. Doesn't really need words. So another thought I always have is when you witness particularly the first part of the exhibition and you see with the technology available and then followed by the stories, it's amazing and frightening the power of the atomic bomb. And again, that's coming this year, 80 years ago. You extrapolate that to today and just how serious eliminating nuclear weapons, of course, and warfare at large to make sure that something like this never happens again. You know, the melted steel girders of these buildings, the still, you know, gets you every time. The lunchbox made lovingly by a mother hours before for a child to never return, and only to find that upending somebody's life. That could happen to any one of us, and I think that's the part of the museum that moves me every time, and I would urge people to not miss and to leave the proper amount of time for as well. Guys, I found a lovely couple from the US, and they've been kind enough after visiting the museum to chat with us a little bit. How did you, let me ask it this way, what changed in your opinion or your feelings before and after visiting today the Peace Memorial Park Museum? Any sort of thoughts?
I'm not sure my feelings changed, but I'd like to see, and well, I'd like to see all those Japanese kids learning about it, right?
Sitting right behind us.
And what it would appear that learning about the importance of the non-proliferation or the non-continued proliferation of nuclear armament. It doesn't end well for anybody, and we need the 5-year-olds to learn that. Because sometimes grown adults don't learn from history very well.
No doubt. Absolutely true. Yeah, it's amazing seeing all the friendly. I'm sure you guys got a few hellos today as well from the kids. They're I feel always the warm welcome. They're happy to see people like us coming to Hiroshima and learning just as they are. So I always feel that way as well. Absolutely.
I will say one thing is nice to learn that the history we reviewed here is virtually identical, even though from a different side than what we learned as kids. I don't know what's being taught in schools today. I hope it's consistent with reality in real life.
Absolutely. Even on a weekday like today, very busy, full of life and vitality, and so opposite of what I just saw in the museum. The destruction and death, frankly. So now going on 8 years living in Hiroshima, it's interesting to think, how has my perspective changed over these years? So many ways, but to put it simply and briefly, I think it's my appreciation for daily life, for the small things, for the connections we can build. That's the largest change that I've had, being shown only love and compassion. Being an American living here for over 8 years, I feel an even stronger, if anything, desire to share all of the knowledge that I've gained and continue to need to amass from the hibakusha, the victims, and others who know their stories. I want to be able to share that with the world. So connecting with people, sharing those stories, and working for peace and appreciating every moment along the way is what I have learned the most from my time in Hiroshima. All right, guys, I'm also so excited to invite you to join an experience in Hiroshima Orizuru Tower that I'm overjoyed to be able to attend today with all of you. Miss Ogura is going to be joining us. She is a hibakusha. She is one of the only ones who can express her feelings and testimony in English. We're going to have a chance to sit in on that testimonial, and I invite you all to do the same with me.
その前の晩は、真夜中に突然サイレンが鳴りましてね、私たちは驚いて防空壕に行くんですけれども、そんなことないんですね、なかなか。で、何か音がするかなって音がしない。そして、変だなと思って帰って寝ようとすると、また30分後にまたサイレンが鳴る。また明け方になる。つまりその日は、前の日、5日の真夜中以降、広島の上空をたくさん B29 が飛んでたわけですね。その落ちた日の朝はですね、みんな子供たちは学校に行ったんです。みんな同級生たち行ったんですけど、私も行こうとすると、父が今日は行くなんということで。っていうのは前の日が変だったから、全くあんなことはなかったのでね、今日は絶対何かがあるって、父の第六感でね、絶対何かがあるからお前はうちの近くにいろと言うんで、うちの裏側の道路の上に立ってましてね、ちょっとピカッと光って、本当にその瞬間外にいたんですけど、すべてのもの色がなくなるという真っ白になるんでね、爆風で地面に叩きつけられると、道路に叩きつけられて気を失ってしまうんですね。で、目を開けましたら、あたりは真っ暗で、そして物音が全然しない。てっきり私は夜まで寝てたと思ったんですね。もう夜だわと思ったんだけど、そうじゃないんですね。何分経ったかわかんないけど、5分ぐらいかもしれませんね。そうすると。
Ogura-san's testimony, so powerful, and as she mentions, though her body was essentially fine from the bombing, the lasting scars on her soul and her heart, not just her, but so many others, lasting a lifetime.
毎日人が亡くなるのを見てるけど、人はね、何にも言葉を発しないで言ったのは水っていうことだけ。水。みんな、外にね、もう寝転がったりね、座ったりともみんなそういうの。でね、ある人がね、いきなり私の足首掴んで水をくれっていうもんですから、 私走って、うちに近いから帰りましたら、門の近くに井戸があって、井戸からお水を汲んで、やかんに入れて、みんなにお水をあげたら、その中の2人ほど私の水を飲んだ後、すぐ2人亡くなるんですよね。それが私が10年来続くトラウマになるんですけども、あーっと思って、すっごく苦しんで、亡くなる人と、一人は良かったっていうふうに亡くなるんだけど、その瞬間が忘れられないんです。
Here in the heart of Peace Memorial Park, just in front of where the Peace Day ceremony will be taking place within a few weeks, you can see guests from all around the world coming to study and learn what happened here, spread peace throughout the rest of the world. It's interesting, Ogura-san's inspiration. Why do you think she decided to study English, be able to convey her message to so many people abroad?
英語はね、どうしてかって言って、お腹が空いてたから覚えたのね。だって、進駐軍のところにみんなが、give me chocolate, give me gum って走っていくんですよね。hungry と give me が一番最初に覚えた英語。私も行きたくてね、みんながね、hungry, hungry, give me, give me っていう。一番最初に覚えた英語はね、ハーシーなんですよ。ハーシーチョコレート。そして、センテンスは give me なんですよね。そういうのを、進駐軍の人がね、持ってるから、ああ、英語を習おうって私は思ったの。一番最初に行った時にね、まず140人のアメリカ人に話した時にね、私たちは爆弾を落としたから、あなた、それ40年近く前、30何年前ね。だから生き延びたのよってね、よかったわね、私たちが爆弾を落としてという140人全員がそう言ったの。そうだ、そうだって。びっくりしたんですよね。だって私たちは小学校でそう習ったの。それが30何年前の反応。でね、そこで喧嘩になったの。じゃあね、あなたたちの言う半分は OK にしましょうと。確かに原子爆弾を落として、戦争は早く、終わったかもしれないけど、じゃあなぜ長崎に落としたの？広島型はウラニウム型、長崎はプルトニウム型。戦争中にできるだけ早く落として実験をしたかったんじゃないの？政府はと言ったのね。だってね、もうね、何が起こるか分かってんのに、どうしてね、長崎に落としたのって言ったらね、そこにいた人はみんな怒ってね、プンプンになってね、私を睨みつけて出て行ったの。そういうことがあって、今度は30年後に、今度カリフォルニアに行ったのね。そこでね、第二次世界大戦を知ってる人、車椅子の人、ね、70代、80代、90代の人に会ったら、もう小学校の時に原爆を落としたから戦争は早く終わったって言うけど、実際に広島のその時彼ら母たちの祈りって資料館にやってるビデオを見てるんですよね。で、私の話したら、みんなが泣き出してね、知らなかったとか言ってね、ティッシュペーパーがね、机の上にたくさんあったんですけど、もうね、ぐるぐる回ってみんながすごい泣いちゃってね、それ見て私も泣いて、知らなかった、知らなかったって。たら箱持ってきて、稽古鼻拭きなさいって言って、私もね、もう本当に泣いてるの。そしたら、戦争に行ってた、機関兵の人がね、来てね、稽古僕たちは敵と味方だったよね、敵同士だったよねって言っても、もうハグしながらね、僕たちは核兵器のもう絶対こんなことがあってはいけないってよくよく分かったよねって言ってね、お互いが抱き合ってね、みんなが泣いたのね。で、車椅子だから広島行けない若い人が羨ましい羨ましいっていうの行きたいって。そして言ったのはね、知らないということは罪であるっていうことが今日分かった。私は何も知らなかった。小学校で習ったのを鵜呑みにした。絶対に私の役目は人に伝えることって言ったのね。だから 私はもうちょっとしたら孫が、娘が来るから、娘にあなたの言ったことを伝える。娘は子供、孫に伝える。そうやって私たちは伝える。そして一緒に考える。そしたらきっと私たちにできることが見つかるでしょうとおっしゃったのね。そして私たちはすごい泣きながら伝えようということを言ったときに、ああ、英語ができてよかったなと思った。
Here on the outskirts of the inner city of Hiroshima, we have an A-bomb building. Again, not many in this general area. This was a place where the imperial troops' clothing was actually made. And after the atomic bombings, you can see remnants of, still today, the original windows unable to shut. A place where many hibakusha and those who were injured in the bombing were tended to. Coming from where I do in America, I also, as we heard in Ogura-san's testimony, learned in a sense that the atomic bombings ended the war and saved many lives. But when you hear the real story and the human connection to each and every victim, buildings like this speak volumes.
まずね、人を愛することかな。あなたの家族、お友達、人を愛したらね、この愛する人たちがいなくなったら耐えられないと思うほど、この人が亡くなったら生きてはいけないというくらいに大切に思う。その人の命を奪うのは戦争でありね、一番悪いやつっていうのは、つまりね、生きてる人だけじゃなくて、未来の私たちも殺してしまうという核兵器っていうところまで行くためには、まずはね、人に無関心ではいられないで、その人のバックグラウンドとか、その人の立場を知る。それがまず、そういう人だったらね、きっと将来までもいろんなことを思い浮かぶ。だから想像力ですよ。もう私たちはいないんだから将来。そしたら遺品しか残ってないでしょ？焼けた服とか焼けた弁当箱。そしたらそれを見てね、これを食べようとした人は誰？これを着た人たちはどんな思いだっただろう？家族はどう思っただろうと、そういうふうに考えるしかない。それは一人一人の感受性、一人一人の優しさ、思いやり、想像力、そして知ってる知識を集めるという、そして考える。だから、人を愛し、感受性豊かで、想像力がある、そんな人がいっぱい溢れたら、もう国を越えてね、一人ではダメ。みんなで考えようと、みんなですよ。世界レベルで考えようと思うと思いますね。
The intricate details of everyday life that were part of her experience, the people, her father, and of course, so many others in her life who shaped her life, of course, in large part due to that day. No one could have ever seen what befell the city and, of course, Ogura-san on that day, but it puts in perspective, as she talked about quite a lot, loving each other like there's no tomorrow, because you truly never know when there will be no more tomorrow for any of us, each of us. So I was really struck by her message. I learned a lot. There's a time sharing stories like hers has been always important, but I think there's no more important time than the present to make the future a brighter place for all of us, future generations. All right, everybody. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me today on a very special and I feel important episode of Discover Hiroshima Beyond the Basics, and always feeling so welcomed here, even being from the US, 8 years now going strong, has made me, over the course of the 8 years, all the more feel privileged and honored to share the message of peace that comes from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, our sister city of peace, to the world. Celebrate peace, love, and as Ms. Ogura mentioned in her speech today, which I found very poignant, love each other like there's no tomorrow. And I personally hope to continue working on that as a person with a Hiroshima heart now as well. And I hope you all do the same. I hope you come to Hiroshima take it in, enjoy it, and celebrate peace as it's meant to be. This year, August 6, 2025, 80 years, and I hope that the next 80 years are filled with even more love and peace, and that will come from Hiroshima, no doubt. Thank you very much for joining me. Peace and love from Hiroshima.